When you're a man and you're in your 50s, the question is this all I have? Is this it? Is this my life?
Michael Pedersen is a personal coach for men over 50 and business growth strategist with over 3 decades of experience transforming lives.
On the outside, life looks great, right? Like, shit, this guy's got it all. And inside, I was dying. I hike a mountain every Saturday. Yes, I go to the gym every Saturday. Sundays, I ride a bike for 40 miles. So I do all these crazy things, but after the activity's done, I have nothing to do. I can't do another weekend like this.
At 61, he sold everything, including his home and Tesla, to relocate to Bali, embodying his philosophy of radical reinvention.
We need a purpose. We need to know that we're waking up in the morning and we know what this is all for.
As a former Olympic decathlon hopeful and pioneering online fitness entrepreneur, he built a 7-figure global business, reaching members in 52 countries. Raw, authentic approach draws from personal experience, navigating divorce, business upheavals, and profound personal reinvention.
If you have something that's pulling on you, and week after week, month after month, it's still there. That's telling you something. Right there, you should pay attention to that.
A 3-time author, including his latest book, Man Awaken, Michael helps successful men reconnect with their fire and build lives of genuine purpose. Now, thriving in Bali, his mission is to end the epidemic of isolation and disconnection among men over 50, guiding them from merely existing to truly living again. His own journey demonstrates his commitment to walking the talk and living life on his own terms.
I call it a reset. It was a full-blown reset of my life. And so I think anybody can do that.
Hey Michael, welcome to the Nomad Solopreneur Show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
We share some common paths into our trip around the globe, and we are across the ocean currently, you in Bali, me in Vietnam. So can't wait to hear how you end up in Bali. After 60 years old, you just left everything behind, you sold everything and you moved to Bali.
It was an amazing journey. I'm an adventurous guy anyways. I was married for 24 years and we raised our 2 children and we did no international travel at all, none, like zero. But we did take the kids to Maui, Hawaii, 7 times to Maui. I don't know why we kept going back to Hawaii, but we did. And so when I got divorced back in 2018, I thought, I'm a free man. I mean, my kids are grown. Like I got my whole life ahead of me, So, and that started the journey of healing from the divorce, 24 years of marriage, right? And, I had a lot of dark moments, a lot of emotional times, financial struggles, because now all of a sudden I had a big alimony payment, right? So it was very financially, very, very tough, and still keep my consulting business going as well. So all these things were just on me. They were all on me, And I think after a little over 4 years, maybe 5 years of my post-divorce, was living in a beautiful brand new home, had a Tesla automobile, my favorite car of all time. So, on the outside, life looks great, right? Like, shit, this guy's got it all. And inside, I was dying, really dying. And that goes to show you that, you cannot look at somebody especially social media, right? You cannot look at somebody from the outside and make a judgment or an assumption. Because on the outside and on paper, people probably look at me and go, man, he's got it all, fit guy, blah, blah, blah. He's dating young women, all these things. But inside, I was just dying and I didn't know why until fairly recently. I would probably say, gosh, right before I booked this whole journey, I realized that I was living a very routine life. It really was horrible. Like it was just the same thing day after day after day after day, week after weekend. It was just really a bad deal. And one day I woke up and I said, I can't do this anymore. Just cannot do this anymore. And I turned to one of my best friends and I said, I'm selling my house. He said, dude, it's a brand new home. What do you mean you're selling? I go, I'm out. I'm done. And he's like, holy shit. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? I go, I'm selling it all. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I go, I'm traveling. I'm out of here. And so that kind of started the journey. And then I kind of picked Southeast Asia because I'd been to Thailand in 2019 for a 19-day trip. And Gabe, that was my longest time away from home in my adult life was 19 days. So I've shattered it with where I'm at now. I've shattered that record. Like that's way gone. But that started the journey.
And you mentioned there's something interesting regarding the routine part. Why? Because at this moment in time, based on circumstances, is something that I crave. I need routine. We share some stories before joining, starting recording. And I'm super curious why that routine start putting a dent into your life and everything. Why that was the case?
Well, you said you're married, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I'm a single man, and I've dated lots of women and all that stuff, but it was not in a relationship. So I think there was probably a factor of a little bit of a loneliness thing, like on the weekends, like, I can't do another weekend like this. This sucks. Yes, I hike a mountain every Saturday. Yes, I go to the gym every Saturday. Sundays, I ride a bike for 40 miles. So I do all these crazy things, but after the activity's done, I have nothing to do. So I think the weekends, more so than the week, really were grating on me. I just had nothing to look forward to. The week, yeah, sure, the weeks, I work for myself off my computer with my consulting clients, but so the week is fine. I'm working and doing my stuff. But I think the weekend is what really triggered it for me. I really got to the point of like, I just can't keep doing these weekends. So that's, to answer your question, that would be probably it.
And that actually brought me back in time because I was in a similar situation when I started my nomad life 6 years ago.
Wow.
I was alone as well. I was working all weekdays and going out with friends in the weekends. But at the end of the day, I was ending up alone in my apartment, and I was like, "What am I doing here?" And that's interesting. And do you think this going out of your normal routine and trying to reinvent yourself is the solution? Because some people say that you carry everything with you, like your problems and everything, wherever you go.
And well, you're talking to a guy that's read over 300 personal development books, and I've written 2 personal development books. So I do a lot of self-reflection, right? So I'm always kind of reinventing myself daily, even if I really think about how I live my life, I reflect all day long. And so if I get a certain feeling or emotion, I'm going to stop for a minute. And people might say, well, that's not even possible. You can't do that all day, every day. But we have humans have over 6,000 thoughts a day, of which 95,000 are subconscious. So that still leaves 300 conscious thoughts every day, 300 of them, right? That we are aware of, that we're aware of. And maybe I take 30 of those in a day where I stop, I reflect, and why am I feeling this way? I don't like how I'm feeling right now. Why am I feeling that way? And I dig in for about 5 minutes, figure it out, and then I move on. Then I just move on. And that's how I've kind of lived my life. And I just think that a lot of people, you've got to be in the moment and reflect on how, and feelings, they change by the second, right? So it's emotions. But I think you need to ask yourself, is there consistency in some of these emotions? Because like for me, my consistency in Arizona was not good. The emotions were not good. They were not good. Here, they're more adventurous. They're more like, I try something new and like, whoa, or the meal was bad, or it's been raining all month, this month here. So this has been getting on me a little bit, is Bali has been raining literally the whole month of December. So,
Yeah,
and
it's
I need
rainy
that.
season. Eh?
It's rainy season and I need that sunshine, man. But I think for people listening, you know, um, gosh, for me, I call it a reset. It was a full blown reset of my life. And, and yes, I did it at 61 years of age. Yes, which a lot of people would think, whoa, how do you do that? Right.
And that's what I want to ask you because some people might not be able to just sell everything and move to Bali or to another place to reset entirely their life. What's someone that it's basically tied to a location, either with a job or family or whatever, but they feel they are stuck in some way and they want to reset themselves? What the first step they have to do?
God, you're a good interviewer. You're asking just awesome questions, man.
Thank you.
Well, here's what I say to that, and here's what I say to my coaching clients, right? The men I coach, is I say, leave for the weekend, go somewhere brand new, and go by yourself, and experience it by yourself. And I tell them a lot of times too, turn off your phone. Once you get there, or play around and turn it off for a couple of hours and just forget about it, because I want them to have a new experience in a new place. And there's no common feeling here. There's no comfort zone here. You're completely out of your comfort zone. And so I think anybody can do that, right? Anybody can leave for a weekend, I mean, so I think if you cannot do what I did, of course, my kids are grown. I work for myself, so all the stars aligned perfectly for me. They all aligned perfect for me to do it. But I think for anybody that's got either younger kids or a full-time job where they have to that clock in or whatever it is, I would say go away for a weekend and pick someplace brand new. It's almost like, picture this, spin the globe, close your eyes, boop, hit the map. You're kind of doing that, but do it in your area. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of, if you live in Michigan, just be like, well, and you geographically, you're probably going to pick a place 2 or 3 hour drive away so that it doesn't take too long to get there. But it is life changing when you do something brand new like that. You have really no preparation, zero preparation. You're picking that dot and you're going. It's very nerve wracking at first. Like when I went, I gave away 90% of my clothes, and I had a lot of clothes, a lot of clothes. So, I came here with a backpack and a carry-on suitcase and a computer bag, and that's it, to my name at 61 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the thing that you mentioned to find a new activity even in your neighborhood, you can do that. Like, uh, it has that shift in your mind, like, oh my God, I'm experiencing something new. It's also your, I think it's called the reptilian brain, that it's starting to protect yourself because you're in a new environment, new experience happening, and it's having that impact on yourself. And I have a friend that is basically he's also a nomad, and he's basically trying new experiences every single day in the new place that he lives. And even that is, I don't know, cooking classes, dancing classes, meetups, and stuff like that. And every single new experience, it's not only triggering something like, oh, there's something else out there rather than our daily routines. And at the end of the day, the life is made to be lived, not just like going on that treadmill or every single day. And after you do that first step, because what happened to me, like I can share my experience, like it was amazing at the beginning when I started this life, like new things, as you mentioned, adventures, quite constant, even that I work quite a bit as well, but slowly, like now 6 years in, we are really looking to settle. And maybe that's the new thing for us. That's the new, like, we need that new routine right now because we have a lot of adventures, a lot of experiences, and so on. So I feel like it's a cycle, but through your experience, like what will be the next step in order to make sure that you're not ending on the other side, like you're, let's say, living too much and you become irresponsible, or your life starts to suffer on the business side or other parts of your like healthcare and so on. How do you manage to balance those things?
Well, for me, it's, I'm 61 years old and I've worked for myself for 30 years. So, um, financial responsibility is at the top of the list. Like it's at the top, and maintaining my client roster and bringing on new clients is a daily activity. It's daily activity, right? And so I think for me, the financial part is you're almost running on fear. When you're self-employed, you're running a little bit on fear, like, God, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I can't, oh, I just turned over a client. I got to replace that client. And 99% of human beings couldn't live like that. They couldn't be an entrepreneur. They couldn't be a self-employed person because it's like this, And so I think for me, I'm just at the beginning of my journey, like you were 6 years ago. I can see myself very quickly, probably doing a 6 to 8 month stay in Bali, and then going back to Arizona for 3 to 4 months, my home, for 3 to 4 months. And I could almost, and then I do want to see all of Europe and all that too. So that might replace a Bali stay at one point too, is to go to Europe. But I don't think, I can't make a projection here, but I'm going to say that for me, because I know who I am, I don't think I'm going to be this crazy nomad for 9 years until I'm 70. I think it's, I've seen some cool places. I've been to Singapore. I'm going to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia next week for a visa run. My visa run, good old visa runs. I'm sure you're well aware of that. But just to see Singapore. I mean, I would have never imagined when I lived in Arizona, I would see that amazing city. Like that city blew me away. Um, it's the most amazing city I've ever seen in my life. Like the architecture, I mean, yes, it's very expensive, extremely expensive, but the architecture blew my mind. The buildings, what I took hundreds of pictures, hundreds of pictures.
Yeah, I was super surprised when I saw literally trees inside the building, like
Oh
on
yeah,
the balconies or on the facade. Like,
insane.
wow, what's this? Like, what's this place? It's like traveling to the future. And I think it's one of the biggest perks of this lifestyle of having the freedom of movement and be able to jump through places. And you mentioned something there that you don't see yourself doing this for the next 9 years, and that's very realistic because at the end of the day can be tiring. And even if you stay a few months in one place, because I'm a slow nomad, so I try to stay at least 3 months, 6 months in one place depending on how much visa allows and so on. But sometimes it's not possible. Like now we plan for 3 months in Vietnam, but we leave
Crazy.
before the month ends. So there are things that are beyond our control, and that's another thing that I want to discuss with you. Like, how do you address this thing? Like, you reinvent yourself so much, you try to be Olympic decathlon hopeful, and that journey, how that help you pivot when things got rough or when things get necessary to pivot, and all this reinvention part, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. They are stuck in their routines, as you mentioned. They're stuck in their life, in their jobs, into whatever, bad relationships, to name a few. So how do you get out of that when life get tough?
Man, God, you're like the best interviewer. I'm telling you. It's well, I think some people are more resilient than others, right? I think some people, stress out about every little thing, and then they quit, and maybe they run back home and say this nomad thing's not for me, and all of that. I've had 4 or 5, 61 years old, right? I've lived a long life, knock on wood, lots left to go. But when I get stuck in an intense situation or what I feel is intense in the moment, I just take a deep breath for a minute and just say, wait a minute, this isn't the end of the world, right? It's not going to kill me. It's not going to take my life. And I think other people have experienced way worse than this. So I try to plant these stories in my head to try to lighten how I'm perceiving it. Because, life is all about perception. It's how we perceive something. And I also call it the word attachment. When we attach meaning to something, when you attach meaning to something, that changes the whole dynamic in your mind, in your mind. But if you can detach meaning and just look at that individual event and go, wow, interesting. Like what happened to you in Vietnam. Like, holy shit. Like, I mean, you look at it, but listen, you guys adapted. You're adapting, and you're going to head back to Bangkok and do your thing. I think human beings, that fight or flight, we have it in us. Everybody has it in us. I think some people might have to dig a little deeper to pull it out of their soul a little bit. But I think if we all just go, no, it's not going to be life ending. Our life isn't being threatened in the moment. And so we will get through this. But if we respond in a way that's super drama, super negative, well, then it's going to make that experience a lot worse and probably make it linger a little bit longer than it needed to.
Yeah, I love that approach in which you take that, I don't know, negative thing that happens or that bad situation, you flip it into something positive. And yeah, that's the reality. Like, even in the worst situation, in a most, I don't know, problematic position that you might be in, at the end of the day, you're still breathing. You have the power to move on. You have the power to change. You have that in you. And some might say, "Oh, easy for you to say," or and so on. But at the end of the day, we all have that. Yes, like you said, some people might be more resilient, but we can say no to things that are bad for us. We can, I don't know, like simple example, like the example that you have, we rent a bad apartment and so on. We move on. Yes, we lose some money, the rent that we pay for that month, but we move on to another place. We can stay there and suffer for 1 month, or we can move on. Yes, there will be some losses, but that's part of life, and it is not the end of the world. Speaking of that, why your dream of Olympic didn't fulfill? How that impacted your life?
Well, that was a dream of mine. In high school, I was a really good all-around track athlete. I was a jumper, I was a thrower. I did a lot of events, and I did them pretty well. And but then I picked up the javelin. My brother was a national champion in the country, ranked number one in the country. He was phenomenal, like phenomenal. And we were 10 months apart, and I always wanted to be like him. So I went from being a jumper, very, very good long jumper and high jumper, to I picked up the javelin and boom, I was throwing it very far, very quickly. And all of a sudden, I started putting off the jumping and started focusing on the javelin. And then the javelin, that got me a full ride scholarship in college to throw the javelin. Now, fast forward 4 or 5 years, I had this all around athlete in me that I shut down for 5 years. But I was getting paid in college full ride scholarship to throw the javelin. Well, my senior year, I turned to my coach and I said, "Hey, can I do the long jump this year? You know, this is NCAA Division I level, right?" And he goes, "You're a javelin thrower. What do you mean long jump? Do you long jump?" And I go, "Well, I used to a long time ago, and I did it pretty good." And he goes, "Go talk to the jump coach and do a couple of jumps." Long story short, I did a couple of jumps, and the jump coach goes, "Holy shit," right? So they let me long jump in college. Well, I decided, because I was a Canadian citizen and Canada had less competitive athletes, dare I say, so I had a shot. I had a shot to make the team, the decathlon team, even though I'd only started just now, literally just then. And so I thought, screw it, I don't want to have any regrets in my life. And I moved everything to Toronto, Ontario, Canada for a year, trained with the Canadian national track team. My partner won the bronze in the games that year. My training partner won the bronze medal, which I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit. But when that year was over, it was out of my system. I did it, and I moved back to Oregon and moved on with my life. And what I want to tell people is this. I've lived my life with one thought in my mind. Will I regret this if I don't do this? The word regret. People need to use that word internally often. Regret, because when the person's on their deathbed at 85, and there's YouTube videos on this, right? People dying, getting interviewed. I wish I would have this. I wish I would have that. Well, you know what I mean? All these regrets. I don't want to have regrets. And so I make decisions based on, will I regret this if I don't try this? And that's a good strategy for people to live their life, that question of regret.
That's powerful indeed, because at the end of the day, who wants to live with regrets? And who wants to,
Horrible.
yeah, I think it's one of the worst things. And sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that the number one reason why people don't do what they want to do, it's fear, either of judgment.
You just nailed it. It's fear of judgment, fear of giving a shit about what other people think. And when it's all said and done, we think people care about us and what we're doing. They don't give a shit about us. They care about what they're doing. And so, people need to understand that live your life how you want to live it, because it doesn't matter what other people think, even family members, right? Because I had family members when I did this, they're like, "What are you doing?" Like my kids said, "Dad, holy crap." I mean, it shocked them. It blew them away, right? But I said, I got to go. I got to go. And my daughter now, who's 26, is like idolizing me. She's like, "Dad, oh my God, it's amazing. I tell all my friends what you're doing. They think it's amazing, all this stuff." These young 20-year-olds, right? So, it goes, but I'm trying to teach my daughter a lesson here. I'm saying, you're 26. You got your whole life ahead of you. Like she's living in a little bubble in Arizona. And I'm going to bring her to Bali in February for a month. I'm going to fly her here. And I said, you might not want to leave. This is going to be life-changing for you. it will change her life when she comes here for sure.
Yeah, because that cultural shock and everything will be huge.
Yes. So, but I mean, I think a lot of people that don't give themselves that shot of like maybe they've all dreamed of Europe or Paris or Greece or whatever, and the years go by and they've not done it. Big mistake. That's a big mistake. You can't get those years back. Our most precious asset is time. And when it goes, it's gone. And so people need to understand that we're not going to live forever. We are not going to live forever. So every year that you let go by, that this dream you had of whatever that dream was, that's another year gone by, and you don't know what's going to happen in your life.
And how do you overcome that fear of judgment? Because people are being crippled by it, and I was one of them as well. Like everyone was telling me, like, that's not your way of doing things. That's not, you're crazy if you do that, and so on. And I made some controversial decision along my life, like quitting my job, starting my business, quitting university, then leaving my home country, selling everything like you. And everyone was judging me. For me, it was easy. So I don't want to give my perspective. I love your perspective. Like, what do you tell someone that is being judged or has this fear of being judged? How to overcome that?
Well, what you have to do is you have to look at the other side of it for a minute. The people that are doing the judging, 90% of them are living a miserable life. They're not happy, they're miserable, right? They're living on the hamster wheel, every day on the hamster wheel, right? And so, yes, they're going to judge you because you're doing something exciting. You're doing something with your life. You know what I mean? And so those people are like, that's crazy. I'd never do that. But then I would turn to them and go, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Do you like how your life's going? And I would, if they were good friends of mine, I would say, answer me honestly. And I would take my blue eyes and stare right through their skull when I ask them that question and say, answer that question honestly. Are you happy and are you fulfilled in your life? Because I can guarantee you 90% will say no. So just imagine if people are miserable in their life and they're judging you, you're going to put value on that judgment. So I look at it that way. I go, no, why would I put value on that judgment? Right? And my family, they're judging me because they're living in a hamster wheel, right? They're living in a hamster wheel. So it's all about not worrying about what other people say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's their own reflection, their own struggles, their own frustrations, and so on, and just projecting on us and their unfulfilled life, maybe, or their own fears. And we don't have to let them affect our pet and everything. And even, let's say, family or our loved ones, they say they want the best for us. There's still something there that's projecting their all unfulfillment or the things that they wanted to do and they didn't do it. They were too afraid. And now when you are doing it, like, because I didn't do it, might not be good thing for you either, and so on. So not listening and maybe just acknowledging that and just move on is the best way to go about it. And I want to talk a bit about your new book, Man Awaken. What made you write that?
Man, I'll tell you. So coming to Bali changed my whole. It changed my soul. Like I'm a very deep guy, very very deep. And once I got here and kind of settled into my room and my location and kind of felt comfortable where I was at, the time zones are opposite of America. So I would have my phone calls either early in the morning or not late at night, but early in the morning and kind of like 10ish, 11 o'clock at night. Well, I had all day free and kind of guilt free, should I say, right? And it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it, right? I was like, I'm in Bali, 2 minutes down my street is the beach, right? I can get on a motorbike and go anywhere, and I've got my days free. And so after about a week of that, I started thinking I got to do something outside of my job, outside of everything else. And it hit me one day. I thought, I've been working with successful men for 30 years, 30 years of my life. And now here I am training or coaching business clients of mine to grow their revenues. But many of them were messed up mentally, emotionally, physically, were not in good shape, all of that. And it came full circle to me. And I said, I got to write a book about this. I'm going to write a book about these men. And it hit me hard. and I wrote it in a little over 5 weeks. 5 weeks. I just 6 hours a day. I mean, I just went crazy on this thing, and it turned out so good. I mean, I feel like it turned out so good, and I wrote it to be read in a weekend. It's only 147 pages. My last book, Atomic Actions, was 376 pages. It's about that big. So the goal of this book was I wanted men to be able to read it quickly, really feel like it impacted their life, to where my goal is I want it to help 1 million people, 1 million men. That's my goal. And so it just came out of me being in Bali. It really did. It just was insane what happened. I'd never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah, just 5 weeks, and not sure if it's the place because it's funny that we talk before recording, and I have a similar experience with you when I landed at Bali. On my way to the accommodation, I was like, "What is this place?" And hearing stories from other people, like, if you go to Bali, you'll always get back there. You'll always come back. It's no other way around. I was like, "Yeah, sure." And after a few weeks, I was like, this is interesting. I actually booked the trip for 3 weeks because I attended a gateway for entrepreneurs, and I ended up being there for 9 months. I was like, what's with this place? Like, it was, and I was doing the visa runs and everything, and I was like, what's there? Just something magically happened. I don't believe in magic. I'm not a spiritual person, and I was like, what's here? Like, something is happening, and writing a book in 5 weeks. That's incredible. And speaking of that, like, speak to me like I'm your perfect ideal reader. Like, why I should read that book, why and how it will impact me if I do it.
Yeah, well, the majority of men above 50, um, well, there's a high percent that are divorced, and that's now who I really work with. I've even gone even tighter, and I work with divorced men over 50. They're divorced. They're already done. You know, the divorce is done, but they're lost. They're just lost in life. They feel like they're invisible. They feel like people are just not even. They're invisible. They're lost. They're frustrated. They have no clarity on where they're heading in their life, and it gets kind of scary, right? When you're a man and you're in your 50s, and me 61, it's you like the question is this all I have? Is this it? Is this my life? You know, and a lot of the men that have hired me have said that question when they watched one of my Instagram videos, and they said, you know, you're inspiring me. You know, we need to talk. And then they hired me as their coach to do my program. But it's that question of is this all there is very common with a lot of these men, and I think men more than women, and especially in America, they're ignored. They're overlooked right now. I mean, there's a big, strong feminist movement going on in America, very, very strong feminist movement. And there's a fraction of the feminists that are the toxic feminists who hate the men, say, you know, the world would be better without men, you know, and all of that. And we know that's not true. We know that's not true. But I think with all of that going on, men are feeling even more isolated, you know. And if a man right now is above 50 and divorced, and let's say he doesn't have a significant other, and maybe he's dating but he has no real relationship, that's the man that really needs help. He needs help. And that's where I come in with my strategies of helping him get clarity, helping him regain his confidence again, finding out, giving him purpose, you know, because a lot of us men, we need a purpose. We need to know that we're waking up in the morning, and we know what this is all for. So that's what I focus on with my coaching clients.
And when it comes to that, like, finding that purpose and having that drive to wake up in the morning, get out of bed, and just get going because you know that you're working towards that, you're aiming for that focus. How you find that? Because there are so many theories out there, and I would love to hear your part, your side, because some people say, oh, you just have to find your, and you do the ikigai, and yeah, that's your purpose, and so on. So what's the actual truth from your perspective when it comes to finding your goals and purpose, especially?
You've got to, and a lot of these people don't know this even. What do you value in life? You got to reverse it. You got to peel it back a little bit and go into what are your values, and your values change, by the way. Your identity changes, by the way. And a lot of people are locked into it is who I am, right? It is what it is. These cliche changes or, phrases. But so when you think of your purpose, you've got to say, what do I value first? And a lot of the men go, I don't know. What do you mean? And I say, look around your environment. What do you see most prevalent? And let's say they see, three fancy cars in the driveway. Okay, they fancy material things. They value material things, right? Let's say they've traveled 3 times in 1 year. Okay, you value travel. Let's say you see 30 pairs of shoes in your closet. Okay, you value shoes or you value fashion, right? But you got to now ask yourself moving forward, what's a dream life like? What would get you excited to think about that kind of a life? And that's what happened to me with this travel. I got so excited. I was watching YouTube videos until 3 o'clock in the morning in Arizona every night. Every night I was, what? Oh my God. I'm like, Philippines, Bali, by the way, was not on the list to even visit, was not even on my list. So that changed everything as well. It wasn't even on my, I'm like, Bali, what? But when I was in Manila for a month, I was done with Manila, knew it wasn't the place for me. And I pulled up a YouTube video at 2 o'clock in the morning in Manila, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was Bali. And I've heard of Bali, right? I'm like, Bali, what? And I watched it, and he's a young nomad guy. He's here, he's there at the beach, he's this, eating a great meal for $5 and all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this place? I booked the ticket the next day, the very, very next day, and came here. So, getting back to your purpose, you've got to find out what you think is going to make you happy in your life. Now, if you're in a kind of I shouldn't say the word confined, but it is. If you're in an environment where, maybe you're married, maybe you've got younger kids, you're locked into a mortgage, you've got your mortgage. So you've got these things that are what I call anchors. Now, I don't want to call a spouse an anchor, so let's not go there, but like your mortgage, let's say, that's a financial anchor. So it would be very difficult to do a lot of travel because now you're doubling your expenses. That's why I decided to sell everything, because my expenses are right here in Bali. All my expenses, and I'm sure yours are the same. And how beautiful is that? To release that anchor of that mortgage that I had for a long, long time, no more. My expenses were wherever I was living.
Yeah, true. And to dig a bit deeper into the purpose part, because yeah, it's so important to be fueled by values. And I'd love to know what else you put there. Because indeed, for example, in my case and in your case, we value freedom of movement, we value this adventurous lifestyle and to not be anchored to certain things. And we always have debate. For example, I have debates with my wife because she wanna build a house or have a house at some point. And I was like, I used to own an apartment. I'm not really keen to be tied to another place. I prefer to, if something, I don't know, economical instability or whatever happen in one location that we buy a house or we build a house, it won't be that easy to move. You still have to sell the place. Probably it's the value in time, even that uh, property is not really due. But of course, depends on the location and economic situations. But that's, like you mentioned, anchored to that place. You're not that flexible anymore. And we live in a world that it's so beautiful that you can move wherever. Almost all of us. Some of us, unfortunately, cannot. They cannot because different reasons. But if an anchor is not something that it's mandatory, like let's say, I don't know, some sort of job or family members or whatever, but all the other things like a mortgage, like you mentioned, like another thing that you can easily replace or remove entirely, why doing that? And on top of that, like those values, what else you put on the table to try to find that purpose? Like you said, all right, for example, in my case, like I have these values that I'm surrounding myself with, and I believe in them and I live my life by them. But on top of that, what should I look forward to in order to make it easy for me? For example, I'm almost 40, so I kind of feel the need of a bit of a change in my life and have like a bigger purpose, like more, let's say, to impact more people rather than just impacting my close by circle. if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to, again, everybody has this dream inside of them. I do believe that everybody has like these personal dreams inside of them, and those are the people that when they get interviewed on their deathbed, they come up, they tell you what those dreams were. Like, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have stopped listening to what people were telling me. All those things, right? These common things that I call it the deathbed of regrets, and I've used that term. I don't think I've never heard anybody say it, so it's my term. I own it. The deathbed of regrets. But I think you've got to dig inside and reflect on, do I have any dreams? And I don't know if you do, but do you have any dreams that you're not working on right now? Nothing that you've exposed or pulled outside of you, pulled it out and said, let me take a look at this one, and then give it a go, right? And so for me, the purpose thing, I'm going to work probably forever. I mean, I just can't imagine retirement. What is that? Like, that's ridiculous, right? So, your purpose will change. So I think for you, I would tell you this: don't feel like anything is very definite. Even your purpose doesn't have to be definite, right? It has to. If you fast forwarded or went out 3 years from now, what would make you happy? What would be the ideal Gabe be 3 years from now? And you don't have to answer that now, but that would be a question you could tell yourself, is like, hey, where do I want to be in 3 years? And you might answer that question from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, relationship standpoint, whatever, right? Fill in the blanks, but look at that 3 year period out there, and are you headed in that direction? If you're not, then that's your purpose might be what you just thought of, but you're not heading there. You got to course correct. You got to correct the course a little bit, right? But I believe in adaptability in everything. And that's your values, that's your purpose, that's your vision, that's everything in your life isn't in stone, man. It's not permanent. And I think people live in a society that we've been brainwashed of: get the house, have the 2.1 kids, get the 1.2 dog, and I know that's impossible to have 1.2 dog, but statistically, right? Fill that all in and you're going to be happy. You're going to be happy. It's going to be a great life. Well, people are realizing that's not how it's working. And the younger group, I love it. I love seeing the younger generations that are like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I love it, man. I mean, it's live your life the way you want to live it, man. It's so for you and your purpose. Number one, don't put pressure on yourself that it's a definite answer. It's not. You could change it tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that's the magical word, adaptability, because you need to be adaptable. You need to be able to pivot if things don't suddenly align with what you want. And you try something, you might find out, oh, I don't like this. Like, for example, this lifestyle, like a lot of people, and especially like big, let's say, nomad influencer travelers, they are portraying this lifestyle as the perfect lifestyle, which of course is not. We know that there are so many downsides to it, and it's not made for everyone. So you might want you hear us talking right now, and you say, "Oh, I would love to live in Bali or Vietnam or Thailand or Philippines, whatever." And you try that, and you find out that it's a miserable life for you. So that's word to be able to adapt wherever the reason and whatever the thing might change in your mind is so powerful, because at the end of the day it's nothing like you mentioned, stepping stone, and oh, this is the path. If I go that, I'll be fulfilled, successful, happy, whatever. No, that path will change. You'll have so many intersections. You'll have to choose. You'll have to make decision, and every single decision will change your life in a certain way. And that's one more thing I want to ask you about this, because you took so many big decisions, and some were probably much more easier, other were harder. Like, how you find out, if you can do a small actionable exercise for those listening, how you can find out if an idea that you have or a dream that you might think of, oh, I'm dreaming of doing this, I don't know, building a 100 employee business or whatever the dream is. How do you found out quite straightforward if that's an actual dream for me, or is something that someone just the society or whoever put it inside my brain, like for example traveling the world or whatever. So how do you find out fast and easy without being going on that path and realizing, oh my god, this is not what I want?
Well, that brings a smile to my face because that's why I wrote the book Atomic Actions. My second book was to help people become more decisive, right? And what I would say to that is this: if you have a dream and it's really pulling you, like it's not going away, it's not going away, and that's another sign. It's a good sign. Is we all have flighting moments of different thoughts of like, oh, it'd be cool to go here, there, whatever. But if you have something that's pulling on you, and week after week, month after month, it's still there. It hasn't left. Well, that's telling you something right there. You should pay attention to that. That's number one, right there. Number two, well, you could do what I call in my book Atomic Actions, I call a micro action. So you could reverse engineer that dream all the way back to, okay, I'm going to get a chat GPT and I'm going to ask it, listen, here is a dream of mine. Reverse engineer it for me and tell me what's one small action I could take today. And I would literally say today, because that's why I wrote that book. Is I believe in very decisive actions. But when you take smaller actions, the penalty or the cost of that small action is nothing, right? So it's not like I'm going to sell my home and I'm going like me. I'm going to sell my home. Well, that's pretty big. That's a big one, right? Like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? But I don't have that regret anyways. But if you can reverse engineer it to a one micro action, because here's what's going to happen with that action. You're going to take that action and it's going to make you feel one way or another. Just that one action. It's going to make you feel invigorated and like, whoa, or that's not so much, right? You're going to get one or two feelings from that one action. Well, from those feelings, you either move forward to another micro action, or nope, not for you, not for you. And people say, well, oh, that doesn't even make sense. You can't just very quickly do that. No, I'm talking about making such a small action of like, let's say, the dream is to live somewhere else in 3 years. Okay, well, you get online and you say, I'm going to start watching YouTube videos. Okay, anybody can do that. That's a micro action. Nothing was threatening you other than your time, but that's a micro action towards that dream, right? And then the next micro action after watching 5 or 6 videos might be, well, I wonder what that looks like. Like, what would be the cost of that move? Now you start logistically playing around with it. So you just take these actions towards that dream. But, I think it comes down to how do you feel after you took that micro action? And it's really important to stop. Let's say you watched 2 YouTube videos. Stop yourself and kind of pay attention to how you're feeling. How does your body feel? How does your mind feel when you're doing it? When you're watching those videos, is it excited? Is there a dopamine hit going on? Or is it like, no big deal? Because that instant feedback will tell you, okay, this is something I probably should explore more. So, and this is what this is kind of sad to me, but this is what people don't do in their life. Stop and throughout the day, even stop and find out how you're feeling, good or bad, and then kind of ask yourself, why am I feeling that way? That's interesting. To be very introspective, very, very curious. And I think that is a good way to really learn yourself on a deeper level, right? Where throughout a day, let's say you're walking down, I'm walking down Bali and, some Indonesian guy smoking a cigarette and he walks by me and I'm a little bit annoyed, right? And I'm like, oh, that's annoying. Well, why am I annoyed? He lives here. It's his country. He's smoking and I'm visiting his country. Okay, dummy, me. Okay, dummy. So you walk by a guy that was smoking. This is his world. This is his town. But these are the kind of things I'm talking about. Instead of me getting angry and really like stomping by him, I wanted to find out, why I felt that way. And then I realized he works there. He's working. No big deal. And then after that, no problem.
And I think that's a very important thing to do on a daily basis, because we are trapped in this rush for anything, like going to work, doing I don't know, activities inside your home or whatever, and you're not pausing to actually go a bit deeper. And if you got angry on your spouse or on your colleague or whatever, on people on the street, why you did that? Like maybe something inside you, maybe I don't know, you're tired, whatever, but dig a bit deeper and see why that happens. And next time you'll probably behave better. And not only that, but you'll have an impact positive on your life because you'll start to do it more often. Ask yourself deeper questions. And I think that self-reflection and just being yourself. And right at the beginning of the conversation, mentioned something that as the first step, you should do something alone, even if you do it in your neighborhood, countryside, wherever close by, but to do it alone. I think that thing, like doing things alone, is something that a lot of us don't do enough, because that's the most important. I see it as a self-reflection point, to not be distracted by your friend, spouse, or whatever, but just being you yourself, and think about your week, about your day, about your morning, whatever, but just be there alone. I think that's super powerful.
Well, I think it allows you to reflect on your own life. I mean, and it's almost like you should be able to do it guilt free. Like if you're a married man and you go, oh, I can't leave my wife, and we got two kids and all that stuff. Well, I mean, I think if you've got a good spouse, that spouse will understand if you say, hey, I really want to do this. This is really important to me. I'll pick the weekend that works better for you. So let's work together on that. But I mean, any supportive spouse would say, yeah, go for it, right? And then now you can go guilt free, completely guilt free. And that's a way to free up your mind to really assess your own life, right? And I think a lot of people get caught up in significant others, they get caught up in family, they get caught up in society, what's going on in society, and they're never really in tune with their own life. Like, what's going on with you, and are you doing what you want in your life?
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's a very deep question.
Yeah, and I think it's a huge takeaway from this episode, because at the end of the day, if we don't live a life towards those dreams that you mentioned that we might regret on our deathbeds, why we're living? Like, we need to have something more to aim for, rather than just being trapped in that routine. And I don't say a routine is bad, because as I mentioned, like I want one, I crave one, but that routine should not be something that is preventing me from pivot some days into something else, or have the freedom to choose, oh, today I don't want to stick to that routine, I want to do this, rather than just day after day after day, the same and the same old.
Yeah, well, and it kind of, to wrap this up, the word routine, I don't, I didn't mean back at the very beginning to say that all routines are bad. I'm a creature of habit. I got lots of routines, man. But it was like when I kind of took a 30,000 foot view of my life, almost like I went outside my own body, and it was one night I'll never forget it. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I kind of just went outside my own body, and I just was floating out there. I really felt like I was. I was looking at me, going, are you happy? Nope. Why? I'm living the same every day, right? So that routine was not serving me. That, other people might look at that and say, oh, beautiful home, nice car, all these things. Awesome, man, I'm happy. Well, good for you. That didn't work. It wasn't working for me. So I really think that when you say the word routine, you've just got to ask, is it serving me? Is it making me happy? Because that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, right? So when you look at your routine and you do it, and all of a sudden, every day you find out at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're not happy. Every day, 7 o'clock, you're not happy. Okay, that's something. That's something to reflect on. And then think, why am I not happy at 7 o'clock? But see, most people would never do that. They will never do that. They won't stop and find out why at 7 o'clock, Monday through Friday, they're not happy.
There is a
Yeah,
reason there. It's called the
right.
golden
And
handcuff. For
well,
most
for
people,
sure,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And if those listening or watching these episodes will take one thing, is that, like, spend more time with yourself and ask yourself more questions, because we can give us so many answers that we don't need to, I don't know, go in the mountains, retreat for 7 days, don't speak to anyone, all those things, which might help for some. But we just have to find 5 minutes in a day in which to reflect on our day or our morning or whatever the reason made us to not feel, I don't know, in align with what you want. And that can change something.
That could impact somebody's life if they did that. It really could catch them and go, wait a minute. And then once you realize, change it. It's not that difficult. Like if you're doing something over and over again and you're not happy with it, change it. It's not like somebody's putting a gun to your head saying you got to do that every day. You got to do that. And even jobs, a lot of people I get it. You have to pay the bills. I understand that. But if you're in a job that you are completely miserable, I mean, you can't wait for Friday at 5 p.m. and then you're depressed, Saturday at 9 p.m. when you go to bed because you're starting to, you know what I mean? You got to make a change. You got to change your job because life is too damn short to live it like that.
Exactly. That's a nice end to this conversation. But please, before we leave, tell those listening where to find you and connect with you, work with you, or check your books and so on.
They can go to my Instagram, Michael T. Pedersen, on Instagram, and Pedersen spelled Pedersen. It's got spelled differently. So Michael T. Pedersen. You can go to manawakened.com and you can buy the book there. The book, if anybody buys the book there, they're going to get 3 bonuses that are kind of cool bonuses I put together. If they buy it on Amazon, no bonuses, and the price is the same. So, and we are uploading the bonuses in the next couple of days. But you can go to manawaken.com. You can go to my Instagram. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, Michael T. Pedersen on LinkedIn. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. And of course, you can find, if you're listening or watching, the links down below as well in the description. Michael, it was an absolute pleasure and an eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And who knows, maybe we'll catch up in Bali in a few months.
We better. I look forward to it.
Likewise. You, yes, you're one of the few that stick to the end. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing so. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so below. And if you got any value from this, please share it with a friend. They might got some value from it as well. Thank you so much, and until next week, pura vida!